Good morning, everyone. My name is City Councilor Lara Michael Flaherty, Chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Public Safety and Criminal Justice, joined here by my at-large colleague and co-sponsor of today's order, City Councilor Reverend Murphy, and also joined by our colleague and Council President, City Councilor Ed Flynn from District 2. And we are here today to discuss a very important matter involving public safety within our Boston Public Schools. It's Docket 0888. Now, before we begin, I just want to let folks know that this hearing is being recorded. It's being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-tv and will be broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN 82, and FiOS Channel 964. We will be taking public testimony during and throughout this hearing. If you're interested in testifying with us here in the chamber, please sign up at the sheet to my left as you come in the door. And if you're interested in testifying virtually, you can email Megan, that's mghan.kavanaugh@boston.gov. And Kavanaugh is Kavanagh. You can email her and she'll send the link. And again, as I mentioned, today's hearing is on Docket 0888, order for a hearing to ensure that all incidents of bullying and violence are properly reported to ensure a safe environment for all students and staff in the Boston Public School. The matter was sponsored by my colleague, Councilor Reverend Murphy, referred to the committee on July the 13th. And I'll just briefly opine that I want our schools, all of our schools, and all of our kids to be safe, and we need to provide environments where they are safe. And those environments obviously need to be inclusive environments where they have the ability to learn, and our teachers have the ability to teach. And I understand that having raised 4 children of my own who attended the Boston Public Schools, that kids learn and grow into who they are and sharpen their social and academic skills, at our elementary, preschool, elementary, and high school years. And there may be bumps in the road from time to time, but the absolute last thing we want to do, is to ignore some of the serious issues that are happening within classrooms, within schools. I support efforts to reduce our kids being over-criminalized, and I've got a record of that. Led efforts here on core reform. I've led efforts around making sure that we're not over penalizing folks as a result of certain contact. But bullying cannot be tolerated, and violence and kids bringing weapons to school can never be tolerated, particularly if we know in specific cases where bullying, we know that ultimately leads to school absence, leads to failing grades, leads to eating disorders, and worse, even suicide. So anti-bullying needs to be the focus to promote learning and growth in the environment. Bullying and violence will be the focus, obviously, of this hearing. And we had sent, as chair and as co-sponsor, we had sent a request. We were hoping that Drew Eckelson is going to be here. I do not see him in attendance, so we'll give him an opportunity to arrive. Maybe it's traffic, maybe it's the orange line. But we're going to start. We'll obviously let my colleagues do a brief opening, and then we're going to get right into it. Hear from Pastor David Searles from Boston SOS. We'll talk to the police department. We'll see if Drew gets a chance to get here, and then we'll go from there. We'll also, I see that there are members of the public here. We obviously want officials from the school department to hear public testimony. If there's any victims here, any parents are here, we want them to listen carefully to what the advocates and the community has to say. And our hope again is that Drew Eckelson will get here in time to participate. In the event that he's unavailable, then as chair, I'll exercise and reserve the right to recess this hearing and reconvene on Monday at 10 o'clock for planning purposes. So if Drew can't make it down here today, we'll afford an opportunity for him to be here Monday at 10 o'clock. With that, and I also have the ability and reserve the right to send a formal summons for his participation here as well. So with that, I'm going to turn over to the co-sponsor for a brief opening, followed by Council President, and then we're going to get right into learning a little bit more about the issue, learning a little bit more what the policy is. We clearly want to learn from our mistakes. That's a big part of what this hearing is. I know that last year we had 1,925 incidents in the Boston Public Schools. and not quite sure they were all handled appropriately. So we obviously want to know what the policy is when an incident happens in the 3rd grade, in the 7th grade, in high school, when there is bullying, when there is violence, when there are weapons. Make sure that that's uniform across the board. I don't think we should be in a situation leaving it to principals and or their ideology and whether or not they like our police department or they don't like our police department. There needs to be sort of a rule where when an incident happens, there's protocol that takes place from that, and whether that's bullying, whether it's sexual assault, whether it's violence, whether there's weapons and what have you found on campus. So we learned last year that there was a whole myriad of different things happening and a whole myriad of different responses, and as a result of which I think parents in particular lost confidence in our city's ability, particularly our school department's ability to keep their kids safe in the classroom. And as a citywide city councilor, I can speak for residents all across the city. And Erin will concur that our phone rings regularly from across the board, and those concerns are that they do fear for their children in school. Kids get bullied on the way to school and beat up on the way to school. They get bullied and beat up at school. They get bullied and beat up on the way home from school. Parents are seeing this nightmare unfold in front of their eyes. They make repeated attempts to contact and to get these issues addressed by the school department. Oftentimes they feel ignored, and many times, strangely, it's the victim that actually has to leave the school to solve the problem, not the other way around. And so we got to address that. And so that's sort of the tenor where I'm coming from on this issue. And with that, I'll turn it over to the co-sponsor, City Councilor Lodge, Reverend Murphy.
Thank you, Chair Flaherty, and thank you everyone for being here. As you know, this is a very important topic. It is very close to me. As you all know, before I became a city councilor, I was a Boston public school teacher for over 2 decades, and I also raised my children here in the city of Boston. So I know as a mom and a teacher that we need to and can do better in our Boston public schools. So this is an important hearing that I'm glad we're here, and if we need to continue it, we will, because we want to make sure we get this right. Our children deserve it, our families deserve it, our staff deserve it, the teachers, the bus drivers, the cafeteria workers, and the principals. And like Councilor Flaherty said, all of us on the council get lots of calls, and not just from parents. We get them also from principals who are afraid to report. We get them from bus drivers who are worried that they'll lose their job if they say what's happening on the bus. So we just need to get this right and just be honest with everyone so that we can use this information to do better. And as we know, a recent audit of Boston Public Schools by the State Department of Elementary and Secondary Education reported that Boston Public School System does not support the physical, social, and emotional well-being of all students, and does not ensure a safe environment for all students. That audit also found that the district system for managing, responding to, and resolving complaints is not responsive to parent and guardian concerns. And this has led to some parents not believing that the district schools prioritize the physical, social, and emotional well-being and safety of all of the students. Acts of violence in Boston Public Schools, including physical assaults, bullying, and sexual assaults, are much to blame for this report, and they are on the rise. I know some people have reported that they don't think they're on the rise, but pre-COVID 2018-19 school year, we are up 80% in bullying. There were 243 reported cases. We also know that not all of the cases are reported, but the cases that were reported in the 2018-19 school year were 243. In 2021-22, there were 440 cases of bullying reported. Sexual assault cases are also up. Pre-COVID, in 2018 school year, there were 439 cases. And in the 2021-22, the last school year, there were 744 cases of sexual assault reported. Concerned parents and guardians are removing their children from Boston Public Schools. I know Councilor Flaherty mentioned that. It's often the victim, and the safety transfer is that burden is put on the victim, not the person who has caused the harm to that student. And enrollment has steadily dropped for over 10 years and has only accelerated in the last 2 years. Boston Public Schools is responsible for over 46,000 students and 10,000 school staff. The mental and physical safety of the students and all school employees is important to me, I know to this body and to everyone in this room. The recent acts of violence, assaults, bullying, and sexual harassment must be investigated and appropriately addressed with the help of the Boston Police Department to ensure that public safety of all students and staff in Boston Public Schools is there. And before I hand it over to Council President Flynn, I did just want to read a few statements, even just an article that came out yesterday, but if anyone who's reading, as we know, not every parent, every child goes to a Boston Public School. We have many families who are in the charter school system, or they go to Medco, or they're in private schools. So you may not be a mom or a dad, a guardian of a student in a BPS school, but you're reading the paper and you are seeing what's happening there. The Boston school system is grappling with a federal lawsuit over its failure to protect students from bullying and retaliation at the now defunct Mission Hill K-8 school, as well as non-compliance with disability and civil rights laws, as the financial and emotional toll from school crisis continues to grow. School administration, it was found, created a hostile environment for teachers and staff in an effort to keep complaints in-house and ultimately deemed the school a failed institution. But law enforcement officials say the reduced cooperation is compounded by the fact that police have been removed from schools last fall because they didn't have the level of training. And we know that, and I hope that you speak to this, that we are making sure that all of our Boston police and our school safety officers are trained with the proper training to make sure that the social and emotional needs of our students are met. And I'll just read, after the Mission Hill story dropped last year, I know there was a rally at the Arts Academy, which now is in Fenway, but was at the Fields Corner, and many of the students spoke about them feeling that they were also having those feelings, that people were ignoring them and the victims were then being re-victimized when they were trying to speak up. We didn't want to, but we sought a safety transfer. We didn't feel safe, and we don't feel safe or heard here. The victims at this school are not being heard, and the bullies are being protected. The mother said, "My main message is that talking to these students works. You just have to do it. You have to address it." And lastly, the story that many of you know of the Chromebooks that students were attacking and hitting other students with, that the police should have been called, said John Peck, an attorney representing the family. The onus, the burden should not have to be on the mom to fix the situation. So I just wanted to highlight many of the concerns and feelings that our families, our students, our staff, I hear. As a former BPS teacher, many of my close friends are still teachers, do amazing work in our school system, and they also oftentimes feel that they will be reprimanded if they share their concerns or report incidents. So we definitely need to have this conversation, keep it going, and just do better is my overall feeling. So thank you all for being here, and I'll turn it over to Council President Flynn. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Council President Ed Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Councilor Murphy as well, and thank you to the panel that's here, especially I know Superintendent Chin and know him as a Boston police officer that's well respected throughout the city and does an exceptional job on public safety and bringing people together. So just, Superintendent, thank you for being here, providing positive and strong leadership across the city. So Councilor Flaherty, I was somewhat disappointed, I guess, that the acting BPS superintendent is not here. Are we giving him an opportunity to be here? And I would like for him to be here as well. Did he get enough notice that this meeting was on?
Yes, yeah, we sent an invitation over sufficient notice. We're going to hold tight, give him an opportunity to finish up if he's got some stuff this morning.
Okay.
I will reserve the right to send a formal summons to him this morning. I'll also reserve the right to recess and reconvene at 10 a.m. If he chooses not to attend, I will be inviting Desi to have a seat as a panelist. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Flaherty, and just want to reference.
By the way, Mr. Councilor, nothing more important today than talking about violence and bullying within the Boston Public Schools. He is the acting superintendent. He should be here. He was invited to be here. He was invited to participate. We need to hear from him as to what the policy is from the leadership of the school department's position until we have a superintendent in place. He is the person that makes the decision. Buck stops with him. This hearing is very important. All of our time is important. Residents that have come here, family members, clergy, law enforcement, representatives from BPS, everyone else is here but Drew. So I'm going to continue to allow folks to testify, and we'll give him time to be here. If the school department, if he needs a ride, we have a city messenger that I'm happy to lend him my car to go pick up Drew Eccleston, but I fully expect him to be at this hearing because this hearing is that important. If he chooses not to be here, we will recess. We will reconvene Monday at 10 a.m. And again, if he's not here, we will invite Desi because we need to find out what the policy is, and we need to hear it from the leadership, from the top. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Flaherty, and I agree with you. I think he's the acting superintendent. He should be here and answering these questions. Councilor Murphy referenced an article, I believe, on the mission school and the bullying and the intimidation that was a focus of a major piece yesterday, I believe it was, in the front page of the Boston Globe, where there's some type of federal involvement now. I reference that because I always wanted to know, was there anyone at BPS that knew about this situation? Senior leadership at BPS, did they know about it, or did the school just choose not to inform BPS about it? I really find it hard to believe that the school didn't notify BPS. And the other issue I would like to know about, and like you, Councilor Flaherty, I worked on Corey reform for many years as a probation officer, and I also don't want to see criminalization of our schools, but I want to make sure our schools are safe, especially for our students with disabilities, students of color, immigrant students. We want to make sure we provide the best opportunity, learning environment, safe environment for our students. But Councilor Flaherty and Councilor Murphy, I guess my question or comment is, the mission school was a terrible situation, and I know it's still kind of playing out. But are there other schools such as that school across the city that we don't know about, where there are major violations of bullying of students with disabilities or students of color or other students as well? But I would like to know if there are other cases such as the mission school where we have major problems on public safety related issues. So those are some of the comments and questions I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've also been joined by our colleague, City Councilor Brian Worrell, and also our at-large colleague, City Councilor Julia Mejia. Councilor Worrell, brief opening statement.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the sponsors of this hearing. Very important topic. School violence or school harassment is, that we've seen, has happened the first 2 or 3 days of school already, and we need to understand that our young people are going through a lot nowadays, and we need to offer the support. And there's only so much I feel that our school could do, and that our city departments can do as well, that we need to have a whole community response. So I would love to hear what kind of strategies and solutions we are thinking about to making a community response. There's only so many mental health workers or social workers or resource workers that we could put in schools. So what are we looking to do? How are we helping our young people outside of our schools so that, the violence and that doesn't pour into our schools on a daily basis or weekly basis? So that's why I'm here, to kind of hear of the solutions, and also hear on, how the incidents, if they're higher this year, lower this, how we get a handle on these situations as a city, opposed to just putting all the burden on our school department. So thank you to the sponsors. I'm looking forward to the questions from the panels.
Thank you, Councilor Worrell. Good morning, Councilor Mejia, opening statement.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you to my colleagues for being here. Super excited to see some good friends in the building. So hopefully you will be sitting here addressing us at some point. I'm just here because as a Boston Public School graduate and a Boston Public School parent and someone who worked in the education space organizing parents, I think it's really important as we continue to have these conversations that we center it on the reality that we oftentimes spend so much of our time and energy doing this, which is blaming and trying to identify where we have gone wrong, which I think is an important part of the process. But I also am invested in prevention, right? I think that when we look at the bullying and the violence that's happening in our schools, it cannot be lost on ourselves here to recognize that we need to really invest in preventative measures. And when we're here to bring the Boston Public School Administration into this chamber around accountability, I think accountability is 360. And that includes looking at what the council can do more of in terms of investments, right? I think about the nonprofit sector, who many organizations are being funded to do this work, and the role that they play in helping to support our schools, right? And I also think about this whole idea that we're going to address violence through punitive measures. Those things do not work. We're at a moment in time where we have an opportunity and a responsibility to think outside the box when it comes to how do we address this topic. And it can't be more of the same old, because we know those things don't work. So I am really excited to have Chief Coakley in the building because I know your lifetime commitment to working with young people and really doing this in a way that is culturally responsive, right? And that really centers mental health and wellness as a part of the strategy is important. And when we talk about the accountability and the auditing, I'm also going to like to hear a little bit more about the data and how that information is being reported or underreported, because there is something that we can learn from what is being reported and to who is being reported and how it's being reported. So I'm looking forward to the conversation, and more importantly, as my colleague, Councilor Worrell stated, is solutions, because we're getting tired of having the same conversation, and the only thing that changes are the characters that are in front of us. And so we can no longer continue to do business as usual. So I look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. With that, we're going to get right into it with the Reverend and obviously and the Superintendent, and obviously we're trying to stay focused on bullying and violence that's properly reported. And what does properly reported mean? Who decides what's reported, what's not reported? What's the policy? Kind of want to stay within that. So share with us your thoughts, your experience, and your advocacy. And you have the floor. And welcome.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. It's been a concern of mine, school safety, for some months now. I'm Reverend David Searles, pastor at Central Assembly of God Church in East Boston. I'm a father of 2 daughters who graduated from Boston Public Schools. I'm proud of that fact. I'm a resident of East Boston, of course, a pastor in the community, and here, as many of the counselors have, some of the safety concerns that parents and young people have, not only in my neighborhood, but increasingly across this city. I'm a part of the Violence Reduction Task Force that meets every Wednesday at the Ella Baker House. And in the fall, we were hearing of significant school safety issues week after week that were unfolding. And in January, some of us decided to form a group called, a community movement called Boston SOS, which stands for Safety of Our Schools. So number one, draw attention to the extent to which these issues are happening across the city. I would hear of one report in the news and think, well, you know, that was bad, that was dangerous, but okay, that probably got dealt with, and move on, and not be aware of the numerous other reports that were happening, that were making the media. So we began to collect those and put them on our website. We have a website, bostonsos.com, a page, Be Informed, to list all the media reports of school violent bullying, safety issues happening across the city. These are the things that make it to the media. But to at least acknowledge those and put those collectively together, and discovered that this was not just a one-off situation in a school here or a school there, but this seemed to be a system-wide concern. We had 14 guns in school last year. Let that sink in for a minute. 14. We believe that Boston should provide a world-class education for every student in the city. But in order to do that, we have to provide safe schools. That has to be the foundation. We can tweak a lot of other things, but until we get that right, until we get that foundation right, it's not going to be sufficient. It's absolutely critical to get this right, to make our schools absolutely safe for every student. I hear a lot of language about, well, we need to deal with mental health issues, and I agree, we need to. But school safety is a mental health issue. So our primary concern early was to make people aware of the extent to which it was happening and call upon the city, the mayor. I had a number of conversations with many of our city councilors, Facebook messaging, phone call messaging, and so on. Reached out to the school department to share our concerns and to say, whatever plan has been in place isn't working. We need to have a new plan. What will the new plan be? And we didn't hear one. And we kept calling for a new plan, calling for a new plan. We would send press releases to the media to say, hey, we're concerned. These are our concerns. We need to have a new plan. They would ask me, well, what do you think? And I would say, well, I want to leave it to the professionals. They ought to be able to have the plan. And of course, the press kept pushing, and so we came up with our own plan, which I can talk about in just a moment. I want to point out that in February, our church has an English as a second language class. We have it's a tremendous class for the immigrant community wanting to learn English. And I talked with some of the students in there about the issues of school safety, particularly guns in school. Mothers, fathers, grandparents. They were alarmed that there would be guns in Boston schools. So we did a video clip with those students. These are first-generation immigrant students, adult students, with children, grandchildren in school, saying, keep guns out of school. Safe schools. We want safe schools. Guns in school don't help our students have good mental health. And we put that out as a way to, again, say this is a grave concern for parents and grandparents in our community. And then we began to connect with parents and folks from across the city, again, the extent to which this was happening, citywide. I appreciate the mention of some of the issues, and we've mentioned other along the way on our website. There was an incident that happened on a bus where a bus driver was assaulted when he pulled over the bus and told the students to stop smoking pot. Brutally beaten, had his nose broken. There was an 8-year-old child who was beaten, kicked by other 8-year-old children on a school bus, filmed by another student. Made it on the media. The grandmother in that media report said, I was concerned. My grandson could have lost his life if they would have kicked him in the right place. Yeah, the child had a concussion, didn't attend school for a few days. So we're talking elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. We had a gun found in a school, a loaded gun in a school K through 8 last year. That means children as young as 5 years old in the school. A loaded gun. So we, again, began to try to make people aware of that, call for a new system-wide safety plan, and we've yet to hear anything. We believe that we are still in an unresolved school safety crisis. In Boston, we had a young person stabbed just a few days ago in a school. What's it going to take? What's it going to take till we absolutely make our schools safe? That parents, grandparents, children, adolescents can be sure that when they go to school, it's going to be safe. What's it going to take? In our meetings, we whisper what might happen unless we do something, and we don't like to go there. But guns in school, knives in school, an assault with a knife where a young person was stabbed. Already 3 days into our school year, it is an unresolved school safety crisis that needs a comprehensive plan to address with the gravity and seriousness of the situation. School safety has to be at the foundation of it. Our school safety plan, I don't know if you would like for me to continue to talk about that, our proposal. Because we want to be a people that not just shouting over the wall, hey, there's a problem, do something. We want to be involved and engaged. And I continue to reach out to people across the board. Hey, if we can be involved in whatever plan, any effort to make our school safe, we're willing. We'll roll up our sleeves, we'll get in the dirt, we'll do what we need to do. We'll do the work because we're passionate about this. We believe this is an essential part of what we do as a city. So we crafted over some months in some really wonderful conversations, a great team of people talking about what might be a comprehensive proposal. We're not hearing one. People are asking, what do you think? And rather than off the cuff throw out a few ideas, we came up with a comprehensive plan. I presented this for you folks, some copies for the city councilors. For other folks, it's on our website, bostonsos.com. It's on the homepage. You can scroll down, click a button, and it will take you to this plan that's there available for conversation, for your thought. There are 3 key elements to what we're proposing. Metal detectors in every high school. We're proposing, well, and we also propose metal detectors in middle school. We had some discussion about that. Boston has moved to a model of there are no longer distinct middle schools. Those middle school students have either been rolled into elementary school, so at K through 8, or rolled into high school, so it's 7 through 12. And so that presents some problems for metal detectors in schools with, let's say, kindergarten students. One idea that we proposed was a mobile metal detectors, and that would show up randomly for safety concerns. And I'll mention all 3 elements, and I can swing back by in terms of some concerns that and response that we get from some of our proposal. But metal detectors in schools. Number 2, Boston School Police reinstated. There's a lot of misconception I found, and even in my own head, when it comes to talking about school police. A lot of misconception among the public. There was before, until school police were eliminated, now we have school safety officers. The school police, Boston School Police, were unarmed. They had police powers, but they were unarmed. And they were a primary early intervention to school safety issues. We believe that's an important model to return to. That is distinct from the Boston Police Department school unit, and that's where people get confused. The Boston Police Department school unit, they are armed officers in the community, not in the schools, to respond to school issues. That's a separate unit from the school police. School police are employees of the Boston School Department. So we believe that could be an important element of a comprehensive plan. We believe that those officers can provide, of course, one of the elements is law enforcement. We need to have rules in school Students need to know the clear consequences for those. And we need to respond accordingly each and every time so students learn that these people mean what they say. When there's a rule, it's got to be followed. And this is going to be the clear consequence. I don't see consequences to people stepping outside the rules as punitive. I see it as corrective. It's important. We got to teach our children, you have to follow the rules. You have to follow the rules here and in life. So we believe that's an important part of the school police component, of course, law enforcement, but there's two other even increasingly and more important roles that we believe they can play. They can be mentors and teachers. Again, these were officers, school police officers in the school, building relationships with students, hearing things before they got out of hand, and so could intervene in a much more quick way to diffuse a situation. And of course, there when somebody is stabbed with a knife, prepared and able to respond to such a serious assault and danger. So that's the second element that we're calling for. And the third one is a comprehensive early intervention. Comprehensive early intervention. Kindergarten, first, second, third, we're going to see some behavioral issues there that need to be attended to. We don't let a kid just run around the school and disrupt all the other students from learning. We got to address that, but there also might be some issues around that child that need some help, assistance, guidance. So we're calling on the school, the family, and the community to be more closely linked and engaged. What seems to be happening now is the school has become an entity unto itself, a kind of fortress, and what happens there stays there. And in some cases, of course, there needs to be privacy concerns, absolutely. But we also think that, as some of our counselors have mentioned even here, there are great resources in the community that could be accessed to help in early intervention. So a child at K, 1, 2, 3, who gets help and gets on a different track precludes issues down the road when they're 15, 16. And we believe if that is done well, that could substantially reduce the violence and issues in our school and in our communities. It's a key time when a child is reconnected with the communities. In some cases, families get disconnected for whatever reasons. Children get disconnected. But by law, these children have to go to school, and it's at this point, this child gets reconnected. And it's a unique opportunity that we have. We need to grasp to work on those early intervention kinds of things, to help children who are struggling, help communities and neighborhoods who are struggling. Another important part of the community-school connection is we know that stuff happens in the community, makes its way into the school. Something going down out there with this group of kids, and they're going to school together, it's going to happen in the school. And vice versa, something that goes on in the school gets spilled over out into the community. We heard a number of incidents in subway stations where citizens get assaulted by a rambunctious, rowdy group of kids coming out of school. So these issues are linked. We have to link them back up in a safe, appropriate, wise way. And that's what we're calling for. There's a lot else that we say in our proposal. We believe these three key elements and the other things that we mention in the proposal are critical elements, important elements, to bring us towards that goal of safe schools. Now, I will say one thing about one of our proposals is the metal detectors, and that's the one we get the pushback on significantly. Metal detectors are going to make our schools feel like prisons, and we're going to criminalize our children. I want to ask you, everybody in this room, what did you walk through to get in this building today? What did you walk through?
Metal detector.
What did you walk through?
Metal detectors.
Metal detectors, right? And so when somebody says to me, you're criminalizing the students, I think, are you saying you're criminalizing me as a citizen when I walk into this building? I don't think you are. I don't think I'm a criminal when I walk in the building. Not for 1 second. I realize that's just a necessary piece of safety equipment to keep everybody in this building safe, and appropriate safety equipment, and I want that there. When you go to see the Boston Celtics when you go to Fenway Park, when you go to any courthouse, when you get on an airplane, you walk through a metal detector. This is an increasingly important and necessary form of safety equipment in our world today. And I don't think when I go to Fenway Park, I think I'm a criminal. I'm ready to cheer on the Red Sox. It's a little harder this year, but to cheer on the Red Sox, right? To have a good time. You walk into amusement parks today, you can walk through a metal detector. I think it's disingenuous for someone to say who works here that you're criminalizing people if you have the protection of a metal detector. And we know there are guns in school. We know there are guns in school with children as young as 5 years old. I haven't talked to one parent who thinks that's a good idea. A diagnostic question I want to ask people is, when it comes to this conversation, is do you think a school is safe with a gun in the school? Now, if they say yes, we're at a different place in the conversation. If they say no, the second diagnostic question is, what are you going to do about it to ensure there isn't a gun in that school? Because we have to do that step. We're a bit tired in the Boston SOS to hear the rhetoric, we're for safe schools. We're working across community agencies to provide safe schools without a specific plan to keep our schools safe, including keeping guns out of school. I've heard numerous interviews, media interviews with parents after an incident, and they'll say there needs to be more security, not less security. So we have to get serious about the school safety issues, but it has to be more than rhetoric. We have to take significant action. We have to begin to take the action steps now. We are in an unresolved school safety crisis. Unless we act, I fear what may happen and what kinds of things we might be talking about down the road. There's a whole host of issues around school safety we address, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about that. I'll leave it there with the main points of this proposal.
And, thank you, Pastor Searles. And I know that the elevator was referenced in the opening, so I'll use the chair's discretion because I know that you also signed up for public testimony if Reverend Rivers can join us down at the dais. And then obviously, before we go into questions for this panel, just recognize Superintendent Chin around sort of, I guess, the policy issues. What is the policy to your recollection with respect to BPD and BPS and how that intertwines? And we're also been joined by my colleague, City Councilor Lara.
Good morning.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Mr. President. So let me just start by saying, at the Boston Police, we believe in the mental and physical health and safety of our youth is our top priority in the city. And, we also believe that the prevention of criminalization of students is a very important topic. So let me start by saying my school police unit, they respond to these incidents appropriately and they investigate it. They're highly trained and all the school resource officers training. And they are there designed for intervention and prevention with that in mind. So working with the school department, yes, we respond to the calls and we try to work with them. And at times we're referred to their legal department to get information, which is their policy. And but we're working on partnering them and making it better going forward. And we're always, making improvements as we go along. And, we hope that in the coming year that, we'll continue our relationship and build on that. We have a new superintendent of schools starting, and we have a new commissioner, and they're going to sit down and they're going to talk about some of the issues at hand. And hopefully I'm very confident that going forward, we're going to be able to meet the criteria that this panel and everyone else in this room want to see.
Thank you, Superintendent. Mm-hmm. And Chair recognizes Reverend Rivers from the Elevator House.
I want to break with the black tradition and try to be brief. The black preaching tradition. For those of you who go to church, there's that tradition. What Reverend Searles has said, and this is important, he has put a plan and a model on the table. Councilman Worrell, we're going to make sure that we get an opportunity to talk about a plan and a model. The plan and model that has been presented is based on a specific methodology. Coming out of the 10-point model, the idea was at the street level, minister, mentor, and monitor the most severely high-risk kids on the ground. No talk, no rhetoric, none of that. Hips, lips on the ground. What the minister has presented, and it should be tested and evaluated, right? He's put a model, a strategy, an approach, and it should be publicly evaluated. And the thing that's significant is that the minister, the reverend, has been in the streets. See, there's a lot of, hoo-ha, oorah, but he has been working the streets, East Boston, in the streets, the Central American gangs that were there, not criminalizing everybody, but where there was violence. Because if I'm a young kid and I shoot another kid in the head and murder the kid, I don't want to criminalize him, but he's being taken off the street. That's number one. Now, my point, and one, I want to thank you, Councilor Flaherty and Councilor Murphy, for your support. I want to thank you, Councilor Murphy, for visiting us. And for those that are concerned about strategy, models, approaches, the Violence Reduction Task Force has created a model and an approach. A model, in other words, a testable model, which is evidence-based. For the attention of all of the City Council, one of the leading scholars in the United States on the development of this model is Professor Christopher Winship. And somebody should be writing it down if you're serious. Professor Christopher Winship at Harvard University, who has been doing empirical, systematic study of faith law enforcement collaborations for the last 20 years. Christopher Winship, Harvard University. So for those that are concerned about whether it's evidence-based and there's an empirical analysis, that exists. I want to salute our police leadership here for their excellent work. I see Captain Hussein laying in the cut back there. I want to salute you for your excellent work. Sir, your reputation precedes you. That said, one of the challenges and concerns that we have revolves around the relationship between the faith community and law enforcement. I want to put this on the table. I see Officer Coakley in the audience. I am glad to see you. I want to raise a concern. We have implored the police department to have Officer Coakley meet before neighborhood residents at our task force meeting to critically evaluate the efficacy of the proposed model. He puts a model on the table and says, critically evaluate it. He's not getting paid for that. There's no salary he gets. We ask people that get paid to do law enforcement to be accountable to the taxpayers who pay the police their salaries. In the black community, there must be, and again, I applaud y'all for taking the initiative, a discussion which is evidence-based, not rhetoric, not woo-woo, none of that. Let's look at the empirical research that exists and engage this, because the Boston Public School has a problem, because there is not an honest, transparent, evidence-based discussion. There's a lot of rhetoric, no evidence, no empirical research. I applaud you, and I implore the mayor to be more responsive to address what we know empirically, what the data says about the violence in the schools, not to cover it up, not to paper over it, not to ignore it. Because we know that if there was violence like this in Roslindale, come on somebody, If there was violence like this in Roslindale, oh, no, there would be security, there would be police. And Reverend Searles makes an important point. How do you have metal detectors and police in City Hall to protect the folk here, but the most vulnerable population of citizens in this city are not afforded the same right as the children of taxpayers? We're asking for, God bless you both, for convening this meeting. We want to engage in a dialogue and listen from our political leaders of color in a profane-free zone. We want to have an honest discussion. Officer Coakley, I appeal to you again. We need you to be responsive to taxpaying citizens. We have concerns. Now, mind you, and I have to say this, listen, I know for a fact that as black people, sometimes we get treated tricky because we're black, because the assumption is you can get away with it. Now, if Father Flanagan calls for a meeting, right? Anybody blowing on Father Flanagan? They're going to show up because of phone calls we made if you disrespect them. And they're right. Officer Coakley, we need, as tax-paying citizens, for you to be accountable because we pay your salary. And we want to engage this issue. Now, I'm going to bring it in. I got it. And I've got some research for you. No, I got it. No, every one of the city councilors here, we're going to give you a pile of empirical research that substantiates the proposals that Reverend Searles has produced. Because we've got a real crisis. Madison Park was off the hook with the wire cut, and there was very little coverage about that. And finally, because of the persistence of people like Reverend Searles, the issue can no longer be kept under, and calling names and calling people, that doesn't get the job done. We've got to put hips on the ground. We support what Reverend Searles is doing. Listen, look, Councilman Flaherty, Murphy, you have a standing invitation to come to the most consistent meeting over 20 years. We've been doing work, Councilor Worrell, and we will provide you the evidence. Councilor Lara, we would love to be in a profane-free dialogue. No bad language, because that sets a poor example for young black children. Oh yeah, I'm a preacher, I'm gonna say it, right? We need to be role models in how we conduct ourselves, how we communicate. And I'm gonna close right there, and everybody got good sense. Say amen. All right, amen. I'll say it for you. I'm good.
Thank
Officer
you,
Coakley.
Reverend Rivers. And Pastor Searles, so you started in East Boston, and then is it grown across the city in terms of advocacy as well as parents reaching out from you from the other school districts?
Absolutely, across the city. Yeah, and we're also partnering with organizations that support the employees in schools that have grave concerns. We had a principal knocked out. We had other staff injured while they're trying to break up an assault in a fight. And so there's some real concerns about the safety for the employees. So we're reaching out across the board and engaging people. Yeah, we're advocates and we're supporters. We were engaging with some folks around the Boston Arts Academy issues. Students who had a dream to go to a Boston school and learn to dance. What a beautiful thing, right? Had to get a transfer because they were abused and bullied. Holding the student-led rally ought to be a powerful statement outside the school. Not organized by parents, not organized by some group like us. The students themselves organize groups, say, there's a problem in this building. We're trying to do the right thing, and the bullies are still there. Bullying us. We don't feel safe. So, yes, we're advocates for all of those folks.
And has the plan that has been devised by SOS, has that been shared with BPS, specifically the leadership, Acting Superintendent Drew Eccleston? Has he seen?
I can't answer that question. I reached out to Mayor Wu to say, Mayor Wu, this is what we're doing. We're concerned about school safety. Could we have a conversation? I reached out to the school department back, I think it was Councilor Flaherty. Your office called the school department, who then called me about some issues around, it was during just after the TikTok challenge, if folks remember that. That's a whole nother safety issue, that there needs to be clear protocols and response. We've got a whole area of social media stuff going on that we don't have good handles on. TikTok challenge, hey, go into your school and punch your teacher and record it. That was the challenge. Yeah. Parents didn't know what to do, didn't send my kid to school that day. It was deemed to be kind of maybe a hoax, but people weren't sure, so there needed to be some clear policy. I reached out to you. You connected me to the school department. They talked with me in between meetings and promised to call me back. Because obviously the conversation was going to take longer than that, and I didn't hear back from them.
Okay.
One of my another concern, and I've heard this, Reverend, you know, we're a school department in an urban area. That was the language used. We're a school department in an urban area, and my only thought was two things. One, either that's extraordinarily racist or extremely hopeless. And I told the person, I take neither position, the racist angle or the hopeless angle. To Reverend Rivers' point, if Wellesley had one gun in a school, can you imagine the effort that would be done to remedy that? We had 14 last year, and we sort of say, well, we're for safe schools. I'm a voice, our group is a voice for those parents and those students who deserve better, who deserve a safe school. A safe school provides the venue for students then to learn. That's what we're about. And we believe we can provide a world-class education. And then we have some tremendous educators here in this city. Some tremendous people who devote their life to that. But we need a safe school for that learning to really take place.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilor Murphy.
Thank you. Thank you, panelists, for that. I did just want to applaud that you had said school safety is a mental health issue. And I just would like to say that again, that school safety is a mental health issue, that they're not separate. And I appreciate that you understand that. And I did know that before this meeting, but you saying it reminded me that a lot of people, when I talk to them, feel like we need to separate the two, or that I don't understand that we need more mental health supports. I am a strong advocate for the mental health supports also. We do need more. But this hearing, as you know, is to address the proper reporting of physical assaults, to address like what is going on in our schools. And stress, as I know as a mom, as a human who's been through stress in my life, and as a teacher, stress and trauma shuts a child's brain down. I've taught many students, I've nurtured many students who are going through trauma, who have a lot of stress in their life. They're unable to learn. They're not ready to learn at that moment. We do have to give a lot of support to them. And it's not always the guns and the knives and the ones that make the news that you mentioned. There's thousands of incidences, maybe monthly. I know one boy who has been so badly bullied about his body and his legs so skinny, he has not worn shorts in 2 years. He was, as his family and everyone over the summer saying, why are you in sweatpants? It's 100 degrees out. And he goes in his room and cries, and he's still forced to be at this same school that bullies him. But there's no blood, there's no police report, there's nothing to really back it up. But I know that those things are happening, so it's really important that we do put those two together. The making sure our schools are safe, at the same time we're continuing the good work. And I know there are people here from the Social Emotional Wellness Department. I know Councilor Mejia and I had the hearing on the sexual assaults in the Boston Public Schools. We've had lots of hearings in this council about it. But we do need a plan, and we need to make sure that not just families, but students, staff, principals, and administrators know, because our schools will do better. And we didn't need DESE's report to come out. We don't need that Councilor Flynn mentioned that, the third part of the Mission Hill School is now coming out, and there's more to learn about what we didn't do, what we hid, and we need to really address that. And as our power on the city council, I take this seriously, that my job, and I know that there are people here, I know I'm getting stares, I'm getting glares, I see them. I'm not here to fight with BPS. I'm here to work with a system that needs help, that we have to do this together. We can't do this alone. I say this same thing when I talk about Mass and Cass. We can't expect just the police or just the Public Health Commission or just the DA's office to address it, or just the street workers. We need to all roll up our sleeves and come together for the better of the good. This is a humanitarian crisis. This is a public health crisis. This is a safety crisis, and we need to address it. So thank you for your honesty, all of you, and thank you, Will, for our continued work together.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilor. Chair recognizes Council President Ed Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and again, thank you to the panelists for being here. I know there was a recent stabbing in one of our schools just several days ago, and thankfully the person is recovering. I guess my question is, if there's a situation such as that, where there's a stabbing in a school, do we do a review of what happened in terms of how a knife was able to get into the school, how a student was able to get that knife from the school bus into the school, and the response from BPS? But I guess I'm just trying to figure out, do we do a lessons learned, an after action report about what the situation was and how can we prevent it again? I was in the military 25 years, and I've dealt with these incidents a lot, these types of incidents. But after every major incident that happens, we always do an after action report so we can learn about what happened and steps we can take so it doesn't happen again. Just as an example, do we look at that type of incident and do some type of follow-up so it can be prevented again? Well, I wanted to ask BPS, but I know the superintendent is not here, so maybe I'll just wait until he arrives so I can ask that question. So, Councilor Flaherty, I guess I'll just wait.
Okay, thank you, Council President. Chair recognizes City Councilor Brian Worrell.
Thank you. And thank you for your testimony. Yeah, most of my questions are for BPS as well. But I do have a question for Reverend Searles. When you created, the Boston SOS plan, I know you did it with a group of ministers at the Ella Baker House. And who else did you work with on this, on creating this plan?
Yes, it's not, there are some ministers, and it's not all the ministers who show up at the Ella Baker House, but some it's parents, grandparents, community folks. And it was, catching people one by one and saying, what would be some ideas that you have about school safety? People have been involved in the community for a long time, doing this work, this kind of work with young people around issues around violence, and collecting all of that and putting it together. So it was a collaborative effort, individuals, our group, talking over a few months.
And have you worked with any other nonprofits that are inside of the schools? Just thinking off the top of my, maybe BAM, to kind of hear.
We've tried to reach out to some and haven't got any response. I don't know if we've reached out to that particular one. After the meeting, I'd love to get the the name of that organization, we certainly will reach out to them. We're willing to work with anybody who has a concern about school safety and really not just the rhetoric, but to talk about a real plan to make sure schools are safe.
Awesome. And I would love to see the evidence-based report that you have, Reverend Rivers. But also, based on these plans and some of the strategies that you're saying that we should implement, have you looked across the country to see, any other, how this is playing out across the country, how this plan is working?
I can answer to that. And Councilor, that's an excellent question, what you just raised. This is very important to make this clear. The model, which is what Reverend Searles has presented, reflects a model here, again, the idea years ago, just to pick up on Reverend Searles' point, in 1998, Bloods and Crips were recruiting in the middle and elementary schools. The 10-Point Coalition worked with the Boston Police Department, the Department of Youth Services, and probation. We did them all.
And the district attorney's
And
office.
the DA, yes.
Which is where we met.
That's exactly right. And what happens on the model? Prevention, intervention, enforcement. The clergy were to minister, mentor, and monitor. This was a secular deployment of faith communities. We got to 70,000 kids. With probation, it became a national model, right? Research has been done, and we'll provide you with the analysis. Empirical research has been done to document the efficacy of the secular use of sacred institutions to serve secular purposes. So there's a substantial body of research nationally. There was a national demonstration project for 17 cities based on the model. We will get you a copy. It was a think tank in Philadelphia called Public-Private Ventures. They tested the Boston model of faith community law enforcement partnerships. There was a program which was initiated out of Baker House. It was home front, clergy, probation, police visited in a non-threatening, punitive way. We would go to the homes of these young people, and it was not prosecutorial. The first thing that the minister said is, your child is not in trouble. We see a problem, we want to do prevention, intervention. And so we will make the research available to every member of the city council to look at this. So what Reverend Searles is doing is building on the shoulders of 30 years of work. We were going into the schools, and I want to salute the educational leaders. In fact, we had an opportunity. What was it called? The center. Yeah. Well, what was it called?
Barron Center?
The Barron Center. The clergy with police went into the Barron Center to engage the young men. These were kids that were, challenges. That's the language, right? Had challenges. And we did this consistently. So this is not rhetoric. This is not a whole bunch of, hoo-ha. This stuff was done consistently. And we will give you the research. Last point, Reverend Mark Scott, has developed a model for how we improve this home front model. He did it in 2019, and there were some folk that tried to sabotage it. And we will make that research, because he's revised the model, and it produces a measurable outcome, because we're talking about putting clergy on the street again, right? Building on what Reverend Searles has done, which has been informed by the research that's 30 years old. We'll make the research available.
Stay with us, Reverend, for follow-up questions until
Yes.
this panel concludes.
No, and I love having,
Sure.
more boots on the ground.
Got it.
I don't know if you're aware of the 10,000 Fearless, Minister Randy Muhammad.
Oh, yeah, I was
Yeah.
with him yesterday.
Perfect. I know he's doing this type of work. He has something called the Hour of Power.
Yep.
Which I'm pushing the administration to see
Yep.
if we could get, more of that intervention.
Absolutely.
But I think it's, you're absolutely right. Those nonprofits, those faith-based organizations, to do more of that intervention that needs to happen here in the city of Boston.
We would love to work with you.
Yeah,
on
so
that.
I'd love to work with you on that. But yeah, most of my other questions is for BPS. Oh, one last question, sorry. And maybe Superintendent can answer this. Do we know anything about the students who are bringing, the weapons to school? Like the background, like is it because they didn't feel safe? Was it an outside fight? Like, do we have any background information on, those 14 guns that Reverend Searles mentioned?
To my knowledge, Councilor, I mean, they're all open investigations. I really can't comment on
Okay.
those right now. So.
My last question, yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Chair recognizes City Councilor Julia Mejia.
Thank you. And thank you. I'm glad that you stayed because I do have some questions for you, Reverend. In regards to the model that you spoke about, so in 1992, I was an intern at the Boys and Girls Club, the Salvation Army. And at that point, I was teaching young people how to utilize video as a way to deal with conflict because there was a lot of violence speaking up in our community. And during that time, crossfire had happened, and I had to take all the kids underneath the desk, and, it was triggering. And I decided to focus a lot of my career on youth development. And there was, Deborah Prothro's, is that, yeah? Close friend, right? And she was a leader in violence prevention, right? She did amazing work here in the city of Boston. And a lot of that work was modeled under a youth leadership-based prevention strategy, right? Where young people, those who are living the realities and and actually experiencing a lot of the violence, were turned to as experts, right? And through my work in the Boston Public Schools, because we went into the Boston Public Schools once I graduated from college and ended up doing this work, we trained young people on violence prevention efforts. And I'm hoping as we start thinking about solutions, right, that we really lean into a violence prevention model that actually sees our young people as part of the solution, right? So I hear a lot about metal detectors and all these other strategies and, that Chief Copley Smith, is not doing her job and this, that, or the other. But I'm just curious, as we start really talking about this work, if we know what works, and that is empowering young people, giving them the tools and resources that they need to actually to have their own agency around dealing with violence. I didn't hear that in your,
Let me answer your question.
Please.
Okay. Number one, the 10-point plan I co-authored with a drug dealer and a group of young men that we work with in Four Corners. This is 86, 87. In 1991, to your point, we went, there was a gang, the HQB was a significant drug cartel, young people, right? So all of what we did was informed by work. Now, and I want to make a distinction with my friend Debbie. Deborah Stith has done excellent work, legendary. Her focus was not on drug gangs. It was not. She worked with young people at risk. The research and the point that we're talking about, no one at that time was targeting HQB or any of the drug cartels that had been informed by the stuff in New York. Different game. On the street, different game. At-risk kids got it. Mm-hmm. Boys and Girls Club, I was on the board. Yep. So all of that youth empowerment stuff, got it. Excuse me. Criminal organizations are a different animal. There's no analogy between the kid with the big pants that's acting out and guys that have developed a major drug organization. We're talking The Wire, New Jack City. That's the population we work with. We understood that you were doing excellent work. Debbie Stith was doing good stuff. She was not dealing with the primary threats to this city.
Okay.
Different game.
Okay, thank you
And
for
I
that.
was there. And just last point. We had been working on this stuff since 1982.
I was a peer leader at Dorchester High.
Were you born?
I was born, my man. Let me just let you know. No, I was already born. I went to Dorchester High in '84. So
And it's
yes.
Reverend Rivers.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I was born. Don't, I may look younger, but I've been around.
Okay, it's a yes or no.
Yes. All right, but don't go, because I do have some more questions.
Okay.
Teen Against Gang Violence, that was headed up by Oric Johnson. And I know that our good friend, Robert Lewis, was doing a lot of work in
Junior.
that space. So I'm just naming some folks who I collaborated with in my early days in this work that were really making an attempt to engage our most active young people in the process. But I'm not going to go, back and forth on who was doing the work and who wasn't.
You mentioned it, not me.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, I'm just uplifting some other folks that I know. I worked in deep communication.
Listen, let me just say this since you made the point. Look, I rocked with Robert Lewis, a.k.a. Jr., helped him on his street safe when he got the Boston Foundation money to do that. We supported that. If you talk to Robert Lewis, listen, Reverend Rivers, we were informed by the work that you did when you were out here 1,000 years ago. So I'm not diminishing the significance of anybody. We stayed in our lane. There were drug gangs. We focused on the most violent youth, not kids that had a gun in their pants because they were scared to go to school. Yeah. And we worked with the gang unit. So just in terms of evidence, the Boston Police Department did amazing work. The clergy worked with them because we worked with them because there was a partnership. When the Bloods and Crips were recruiting, that's not just a kid, lost his way. These young people were being recruited by the Latin Kings and other gangs. Boston, unlike any other city in the United States, there is we're able to do some things. We will bring the research. We will bring you the research, all the comparative analyses of Debbie Stith. And the public health model, because Deborah Stitt's model was a public health model which didn't focus on organized crime.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate the clarity. And I'm curious about the evidence or any research that you have that metal detectors actually do prevent violence in our schools. And I'm just curious because some of the research that I have come across that there is no evidence that states that just because the presence of a metal detector
Well, metal detector is not the magic pill. No one said that.
Oh no, because it was here as one of your or at least for Reverend, if you want to talk to me a little bit about what research you have found that states that metal detectors do actually prevent violence.
Yeah.
Fair question.
Yeah, fair question. Let me ask you this. Why is there a metal detector at City Hall? Why have you advocated for a removal of the metal detector at City Hall?
That's a real question.
This is a city.
Are you concerned about a metal detector at City Hall?
I'm not.
You're not concerned about it being present?
So my question is, and I need you to answer the question that I'm asking specifically about metal detectors in our schools, and what evidence can you bring to this chamber that states that metal detectors are going to reduce violence? That's the question.
It's a deterrent. It's a deterrent. The objective of a metal detector, then this is not like physics, or we don't need something from the American Political Science Association journal. Metal detectors function. Are they perfect? No. No one's saying they're perfect. That's not the claim he made. Let me finish.
Sure.
Metal detectors objectively function as a deterrent. No one's dumb enough to say, well, a metal detector will solve all crime. No, but metal detectors function as a deterrent in schools, like they do in City Hall, like they do at the White House or Congress. It simply functions as a deterrent.
Okay. So thank you for that. And can you just tell me, going just one more question, and then I know my time is probably up. I'm just curious, I know that Chief Coakley has been engaged in violence prevention and in law enforcement and really deeply rooted. So I'm just curious what role she played alongside the work that you were doing back 30 years ago.
In fact, that's an excellent lead-in, because our concern is that she will be consistent. The task force has been begging for the conversation with our law enforcement partners. Listen, Captain Hussein, my brother over here, these guys are always available. See, I've been chasing Neva, right? I knew she was going to be here. I said, I'm going to catch her because she's going to be at this meeting, right? So that we deal with this, because, officer, we, the public, pay your salary. There needs to be a responsive, professional response. That's it. And so listen, I love Officer Coakley. In fact, not only do I love her, I worked on putting her on a BBC special. Her and her partner, David, what's your man's name? David Singletary. The BBC came, and I said, Neva Grice. Oh, no, she got cameras and lights and the whole thing. Look, I love Neva. But we must be, since it involves the life and death of disproportionately black children, everybody must be accountable.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Could I respond to Councilor Mejia?
Through the chair, yeah. Question before the gentleman.
I'm still looking for some evidence-based.
No. Deterrent. No. You can't hide behind that. It's a deterrent. Just like when you come in this building, it's a deterrent. See, you can't logically put the burden on him.
I'm just looking for an answer.
That's a fair question. It's a
fair question, and that I want an answer to. Thank you.
Yeah.
Reverend, you can answer.
As Reverend Rivers says, it's a deterrent. What I would say is, and we've had some conversations on
Yes, we
Facebook,
have.
and I appreciate that.
And I do too.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I fear that when you read this, you see the metal detector and you stop. Metal detectors aren't going to stop crime by any means. They're a deterrent to people bringing serious weapons into a building. We have another component here that includes comprehensive early intervention. And that's in part some of what you, in my conversation with you and interchange with you, that I hear you saying. We need to have good mental health resources. We need to provide for our young people who may be in environments that sort of set them up to be angled towards bringing a weapon into school. We need to ask the question, why are students bringing weapons into school?
That's right.
But we need to do both and.
Yeah.
We need to it's a both and proposition. It's not an either or.
Yeah.
So to your point and to our conversation, some of what you see here is a result of that conversation. Some of the things that you offered to me about mental health. I think of my own history, and when I look at all the people that were involved in my upbringing, church community, extended family, teachers, mentors, coaches, a couple hundred people.
Yeah.
What I think we have in the lives of some young people, they don't have that. They don't have that interchange. You were doing mentoring way back. What a critical thing. Young adult doing mentoring with young people. We need to connect some of the children and young people who are struggling with those great resources that they may be disconnected from. So it's not an either-or proposal here. I notice 3 prongs to it. Includes comprehensive early intervention. And that's a critical component.
Yeah.
And it shares some of your concerns, I think.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Sure.
Just one last thing, Chair, if you don't mind. One more thing, is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I believe that this is the beginning of a good conversation, right? Because now we're here in this chamber, we're getting things on the record, we're really unpacking, right? And yes, there's a lot of difference of opinion of how we get there, but I think we all want to get to the place where all of our schools, right, and all of our children feel embraced and safe. And safety, and I think I was the one early on that talked about that public safety is a mental health, and that there is mental health safety. And we can't talk about public safety without talking about mental health safety. And the type of environments that we create in our schools is triggering for our kids. And so we have to be super mindful as we continue to move forward in this work, that we are looking at the whole child, and that we're also holding ourselves accountable to the fact that we can put the blame all we want on Boston Public Schools, but if we're not talking about accountability of how our guns and weapons are getting into the hands of our kids, then we're having the wrong conversation. That part of the conversation is missing in this dialogue if we're not talking about how they're getting in to begin with. And that should be a part of the conversation. And take it one step further, as my good colleague, Councilor Lara, has said in the past, is we come into this chamber and there's a lot of pointing fingers, but if we're not addressing the poverty, if we're not addressing the root causes of what is leading to violence, then it's just a whole bunch of hoopla. And we have to address those conversations within the context of public safety. Because if we don't, right, we're not solving the problem. And that needs to be a part of the conversation.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia, and obviously thank you, Reverend Tudors, for the partnership and just the dialogue and listening to some of the concerns of all of our colleagues, and then putting sort of that to work in the SOS plan. So that shows how passionate and thoughtful, but also that you're listening and you're getting the different perspectives, as Councilor Mejia had just outlined, and that you took the initiative to include those concerns into this safety document. So with that, Chair recognizes City Councilor Kendra Lara.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the panelists for being here today. Thank you, Councilor Mejia, for your questions. Bullying is sadly a situation that occurs in many school environments, and we see it often here, and BPS is no different. I think that regardless of the commonality of the action itself, we really need to ensure that we are addressing it to make it so that our students have a safe learning environment. And I'm hopeful that in spite of the disrespect, this discussion is going to really focus on exploring root causes of bullying and not simply say that the administration officials should defer to school resource officers or increase their usage of BPD itself to determine, to further utilize the best social emotional learning principles that we have, that follow the data that we have, that show the impact of metal detectors in schools, that show the negative impact of policing in schools, particularly for Black and brown people and Black and brown students in not only just the city of Boston, but everywhere. I think that we need to work on measuring the way that we look at success. And we have a lot of practices that have been applied to children in BPS and determine whether or not we're succeeding in nullifying the causes of what leads to bullying in the first place, like Councilor Mejia just mentioned, which is not the job of BPS. BPS's job is to educate our students, and they are being asked to respond to a housing crisis. They're being asked to respond to a poverty crisis. They're being asked to respond to a crisis of community-based violence. We are asking them to do everything within their walls, especially if investing in more police officers and X, Y, and Z in BPS is going to remove resources from making sure that we are meeting and really, really taking a shot at those root causes. We should absolutely not do it. We can't conclude that a push for a case for more police in schools, again, especially if it's going to cause us in any way to underfund the resources that are needed to aid children directly. We can't think that making systems involved, creating more systems involved young people is the answer to destabilizing already troubled families without getting them the resources that they need. There were a lot of incidents that were listed in the language of this hearing, and I think that all of those incidents had a cause. And we need to start exploring what led to that point and not continue to endanger our students by bringing the police state into our art classes. Now, I have heard a lot from a lot of people here this morning, some of it grandstanding, some of it helpful, most of it not. And I know that for the most part, we like to act like people like me who don't want police in schools are somehow, woo-woo progressives who have no experience in this, and we don't know what we're talking about. And I'm sure, Reverend, that you can say that about a lot of the people in the council, but you absolutely cannot say that about me. I sit here as a city councilor, as somebody who was formerly gang involved. I became a street worker when I was a teenager. My senior year in high school, I went to 17 funerals of friends who were murdered, one of them in front of my doorstep. I have had to talk a gun multiple times out of a young person's hand who you call hardened criminals who are running these hardened organizations. And I know that to a lot of people that might be scary, but I'm not actually that scary. And if I can go unarmed to work with, according to the BRIC, is Boston's 300 most dangerous individuals in the city of Boston, then I think that we can figure out some solutions that don't involve turning our schools into a prison. This is not just here in Boston. I have traveled internationally to other countries to train people on violence intervention models that work directly with the people who are doing the shooting, who are doing the drug dealing. Not the at-risk, not the young people who are on the bad path, not the people who are disrespecting people. In addition to that, I am a parent of a black boy inside of BPS. I'm not sending my kid to any school that has a metal detector. And I know that we love to talk about white neighborhoods and what they do. I represent a district where there are 70% white people, and 90% of the parents in my district do not want a metal detector in their kid's school. So if these parents that we say are getting better treatment don't want metal detectors for their white students at their schools, why do our kids have to go to a school that functions like a prison? Because you can say, oh, everybody gets this here. Why are there metal detectors at City Hall? We are adults here in this building. The psychological impact that it has on children who have to go to a school with a metal detector, who have to see a police officer, is very, very different than us who are opting into walking into a building that has a metal detector. I went to a high school that was incredibly dangerous here in the city of Boston. I didn't graduate from the Burke, but I went to the Burke. And we had metal detectors at every single door. And every winter, all of the students at that school had to be lined up in the freezing cold outside of this brick building, waiting to walk through the metal detectors. This is before the Burke was a turnaround school. The Burke was the most dangerous school, even with the metal detectors. Absolutely no change, because we were not taking care of the needs of the students there. Now imagine my surprise when we invested resources to the students at that school, when we made sure that they had appropriate staffing at that school. And now all of a sudden the Burke is a model for a turnaround school. Imagine that it was not the metal detectors that changed that school or kept those students safe. Now, you keep naming research. There's so much research, so much research. Empirical evidence that shows that more police in school and metal detectors in schools are actually a detriment, specifically to young people who come from marginalized communities. And so, everybody can find research that's gonna back their claim, and you can always find a black person that's gonna come in here and speak up and say, I agree with what people are saying. Now, the city council has very little power in terms of what happens at BPS, because that is their business, and honestly, we can advocate for it. Do we need a plan? Absolutely. We are in agreement about that. We don't have a plan. There's not a good plan, right? Does that plan look like more cops and metal detectors? Even this early intervention, my kid is in first grade, please. What is bad behavior for a 4-year-old? It's inappropriate. This is a prison. Are there parts of this that we can take and work on? Absolutely. But we're not putting more cops in our schools. We're not gonna continue to criminalize black and brown children, and we're gonna stop talking to people like me who grew up in this city and went to BPS and have every single experience with violence and have seen every single gun and have been shot and have to duck bullets and had to stand in a neighborhood with a young person that I spent years working with under a white sheet and tell them that the stuff that you believe is too woo-woo and it's just rhetoric and blah, 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 when the evidence shows the absolute opposite. I don't have any questions to ask, because I don't believe that we are going to get an answer that is actually going to get us to merge what you're saying and what I'm saying. Because what I have heard here is what I'm saying in the face of all of these questions. I do think that there is a middle part. I do think that we need a plan. I do think that we're going to get. But if we continue to say that the evidence shows what it doesn't, then we're not ever going to be able to have a real conversation, because we're not being honest. We're being intellectually dishonest. If I say, where is the evidence that shows that this is safe, you don't say, well, why is the metal detector here? That's a deflection. So I hope that we can actually have a real conversation about this in the future. But I really absolutely thank you for your time. I thank you for your work. I think that Reverend Rivers is correct. You're not getting paid for this. And I believe that you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart because you are worried about our children. I don't think that you are somehow trying to harm our students. But we do have to be able to have an intellectually honest conversation about what is real, what we should do and what we shouldn't do, especially here in the City Council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lara. We've also been joined by City Councilor Louis Jen. Any comments or questions of this panel?
Good morning. I think it's still morning, everyone. City Councilor at Large Ruthie Louisiana, apologize for being late. I think I missed a lot of discussion here. So I don't have questions at this point. I'm just going to listen. Obviously, we've seen and we continue to see that our schools, we have issues of sexual harassment, issues of bullying, and issues of violence that need to be addressed. And I'm a big proponent of us pouring resources into the social and emotional supports that are going to support our students, guidance counselors, more psychologists. Last year or earlier this year, the timeline is off, the guidance counselor of the year got awarded, was presented before DESE for given in recognition for being guidance counselor of the year. And they asked her, what can we do to further support our students in schools to get more exceptional guidance counselors like you who can help students when they come through our doors who are dealing with all of these issues that result in violence, that result in sexual harassment. And she said, hire more guidance counselors. And so we know that sometimes we want to blow up the issue is like, well, how do we solve this? How do we, what are the answers? And sometimes the answers are just putting more money into our schools, to the things that we know work, the emotional supports, the more guidance counselors, because our kids are walking into schools with all of these issues that manifest themselves in ways that harm the other students in the classroom, in the school environment. And so we know some of the tools that work, and we're sometimes, for whatever reason, try to do it. We want to engage in more reactive measures rather than preventative. And on the prevention side, we know that guidance counselors and more emotional supports for our students save lives. I'm a BPS graduate. My guidance counselor was a beacon for me. As I was navigating so much changing in life, my parents, great parents, but don't know the system, didn't go to college. And I look at that as my guidance counselor, a Black woman who is now my neighbor, and think about how much she provided me. And when we're having these discussions, sometimes I'm like, the answer is just, it's obviously not simple, but part of the answer is supporting our students so that they have in our school environments adults that they can trust and that they can turn to if they don't have them in their personal lives. So I'm just going to continue listening. I don't have questions because I didn't hear the presentation, but I want to support us being more creative and being more thoughtful about the interventions that we use in school. There are great, the great example down in Louisiana in Shreveport, they were having ongoing incidences of violence, and they just brought in a nonprofit organization led by Black fathers to come in and just greet the students every day and hug them and let them know that they were loved and that they were cared for, and how that was an intervention that really changed the dynamics and the atmospheres. So I think we have a tendency sometimes to rely on structures and systems that are just our default without pressing ourselves to see what works. And so I'm looking forward to more conversations, to continuing to be an advocate for more social and emotional supports for our kids in the form of more guidance counselors, more psychologists, and listening to the students and centering them in these conversations and hearing from them about what they want to address the issues of sexual harassment, bullying, and violence, because we have to listen to them because they're experiencing it every day in the classroom and when they walk through the door. So thank you for being here. I look forward to reviewing the tape to see what I missed and look forward to the continuing conversation.
Thank you, Councilor Louis Jen. This obviously concludes this panel. We're obviously welcome to stick around for a little bit if you would like. Kind of call upon Renee Callender from Promoting Conflict Resolution, and also as a professional courtesy and chair's discretion to ask if she so chooses someone I go back a lot of years with, Neva Coakley-Rice. I know Neva's name has been invoked on a couple occasions. You are more than welcome to come down here and talk a little bit about some of your strategies and things that you've been doing as well. So. And we'll afford you, obviously, that opportunity as we await the acting superintendent's arrival. Renee, welcome to the Boston City Council. You have the floor. Just state your name and your affiliation, if any, for the record, and you have the floor.
Okay. Hello, my name is Renee Callender. I'm a City of Boston resident, presently reside in Dorchester for over 50 years, as well as a mother of 2 sons that graduated from Boston Public Schools. I'm a founder of a nonprofit organization promoting Conflict Resolution, Inc. Our mission is unifying families through literacy and technology with the hopes of combating inner-city violence. As a retired Boston police detective who spent 23 of her 36 years career working with families in the greater Boston area who had been impacted through trauma as I worked in the sexual assault, human trafficking, domestic violence, and crimes against children's unit, focusing on cyber crimes. I'm very familiar with bullying and all types of cyber crimes. My passion continues to be creating a safe Boston for all. I have a unique lens in which I view the needs of families in our community. Presently, I am an active member with the Boston SOS, whose primary focus is developing a safety plan to ensure our children are safe in schools, free of all weapons. It is paramount that our children deserve a chance to thrive through education without fear of violence in school. Students deserve to have school as a safe haven. Given the opportunity to collaborate with BPS, Promoting Conflict Resolution, Inc. will work to instill a unified concept with BPS families and the BPS staff, supporting the families through education, stability, and access to help in achieving educational success for all of our students. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Any questions of Renee from my colleagues?
Thank you.
Much gratitude. Thank you, Renee. And I still don't see the acting superintendent, so as a professional courtesy and again, a long-term relationship, Sam, if you could come down just for the limited purpose of just explaining where our acting superintendent is and anything you can share with respect to this morning's hearing and any updates with respect to the policy. And then as the chair, I intend to, as out of respect for my colleagues and the Boston City Council, recess the hearing and reconvene Monday at 10 o'clock to give our acting superintendent an opportunity to come forward, show respect to the Boston City Council and my colleagues here. And with that, and again, this is a long-term relationship. I appreciate and respect you and the work you do. This has nothing to do with you. We had specifically requested that the acting superintendent be here. We felt that the issue is that important with bullying and violence in the schools. We expected his arrival at 10 o'clock. We've given him now 2 hours. I intend to do 2 things as chair. I intend to recess this hearing. I also intend to send a formal summons for his arrival for 10 a.m. on Monday morning. With that said, respectfully, Sam, you have the floor to maybe explain what his absence or share some of your thoughts on what you've taken in today's hearing. And it's good to see you as always.
Good morning, Councilor. Good morning. Thank you for hosting it today. Thank you for all the councilors that are here present today and for the testimony that we heard earlier today. This is a very serious topic of conversations, and we're glad that you were able to hold it and keep the conversation going. My understanding is that Dr. Eggleston was clear that he was not able to attend today and made that aware up front. And instead he sent a BPS team, including myself and my colleagues here that are really close to the work and are clear and understanding of the plan and can speak to the plan and discuss any future partnerships and consideration of other options for us to consider going forward. So with that said, I'll defer to you on how you want to proceed.
Yeah. So we'd like to proceed with a recess and a reconvene on Monday when Acting Superintendent Drew Eccleston can be here, obviously with you and your team, to share us the plan, if you will, because we're hearing from our colleagues, from members of the public, that there's concerns that there isn't a plan or there is a plan. They want to make sure that it's a new plan or it's incorporating some of the concerns that were raised at this hearing. Again, respectfully, he was invited to be here. We've given him 2 hours. Would have picked him up, quite frankly, if I knew if it was a transportation issue, but he knows how important this issue is. He's currently charged with making these decisions and overseeing these decisions until the new superintendent assumes her role as head of our schools. And again, this is designed to make sure that BPS respects the Boston City Council, respects all of my colleagues in their inquiries, and that goes from the 17F, that goes from a public hearing, that goes from just the engagement. We are supposed to be on the same team, which is for the betterment of our city, for the betterment of our students, for their safety, for their parents, for the buy-in, for all of that stuff that our role, our primary responsibility is the education of our children, and part and parcel to that is their safety. And the fact that we had 1,925 incidents last year, those are the ones that were reported. You know, we obviously want to talk about reporting mechanisms and what have you, but again, we are, I want to stress this, we are in this together. The Boston City Council, in partnership with the Boston Public Schools, in partnership with the Boston Police Department, in partnership with our clergy and members and students and families and grandparents, all of it. We want to work together on this. And at the end of the day, this body deserved a certain level of respect, and he was invited, chose not to attend, or for whatever reason. So we're going to afford him an additional opportunity, and we're going to recess this hearing, and we will reconvene on Monday at 10 o'clock in the Ionella chamber. And again, Sam, I appreciate you. I appreciate the work you do. I appreciate the team and their work. Drew Eccleston needs to be here to respect this council. Thank you all. This committee is in recess. There's no questions before Sam DePino. It's a professional courtesy to explain his whereabouts.